down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to rob him and killed the dude. What the hell my 19-year-old cousin gonna try to rob and kill somebody? Bro, we getting money, man. We getting money. That ain't our stilo. Man. Everybody know me, bro. That ain't my stilo, bro. You know what I'm saying? That ain't how I get down, bro. Like, that ain't how none of my people get down.
You saw this coming, didn't you? Duke's death didn't feel random at all. It felt planned, sharp, and without a shred of mercy, like an execution. Let's rewind and see exactly how this night unfolded. Duke, the jeweler, had been rolling dice all night long, right alongside men he genuinely believed were his people, his friends even. But the word on the street is now saying that those so-called friends might have been signaling behind his back the entire time. Why would anyone want to betray Duke like that?
So the next day, dude hit my partner like, man, y'all got the concert, let us trail y'all, woo-de-woo. So dude went with us to the concert, and after I come off stage, everybody leaving. You know, we parked under the parking lot, under the arena where the celebrities parking and all that shit. He was in another car. He walked to his car. His car was outside the arena under where we was. It was on side the parking lot, so he had to walk to his car. And
This man was the epitome of hustle. He built his empire from the ground up with no shortcuts or free passes. Duke was more than just a jeweler. He was a designer creating one-of-a-kind pieces for emerging rappers and seasoned industry heavyweights. When he moved from his Chicago base to Houston, it wasn't for leisure. It was purely for business. The person who supposedly extended the invitation was none other than Boosie. He directly told Duke that he wanted to discuss our custom jewelry pieces. Duke arrived prepared, carrying a duffel bag filled with his flashiest designs, ready to make a significant career move. However, he was unaware that this trip would be his last. That duffel bag, intended to spark new deals, would later reappear in an unexpected way. Before delving into that, it's crucial to understand the dice game because it is directly connected to his death. According to what's been said on the street, this wasn't a friendly game. It was a setup. Whack 100, someone with deep knowledge of street life, was very candid about the situation. He stated, "If you ever get invited to a dice game in Houston, especially one hosted by Jay Prince, you better run, because the chances of leaving with your cash or even your life are almost zero." He believes this is precisely what trapped Duke the jeweler, who walked right into that ambush. Whack 100 elaborated further, explaining that these dice games are far from fair. They are completely rigged. The dice are tampered with so that only Jay Prince Jr. and his crew can win. It's not a form of gambling. It's wedge robbery disguised as a game.
He got three right, who rotate the dice. Now these dice is loaded. Tell me it's a Wolf, Big Caprice, and watch this, and Little Cam are the loaded dice rotators, right? He said what? There was a situation that occurred that a certain jeweler around and got past the dice on accident and was hitting all them for a couple hundred. They got irritated about that. I ain't gonna go too far into that story because, right, boom. The only way they could get their money back was however their money back. He said, but Lil Cam, Wolf, and
The house always wins, and when they lose, things turn deadly. That night, someone made a mistake and passed the loaded dice to Duke. Suddenly, he couldn't stop winning, stacking hundreds of dollars as if it were nothing. Just like that, he cracked their system, and everything changed the moment he did. Duke wasn't just racking up wins, he was filming the entire game. With his phone out, he recorded himself stacking money, laughing at the table as if he owned the night. At first, it seemed like a harmless display, but when the video clips resurfaced, people noticed subtle details in the background. There were shadows, side glances, quick whispers, and covert signals that didn't seem friendly at all. Here's the kicker. Word on the street is that Jay Prince takes a 30% cut from every dice game. When Duke flipped the system upside down, he didn't just ruin the game's atmosphere, he disrupted their profit. It gets even darker. Duke had been posting clips of his winning streak, showing the world that he couldn't lose. However, when people replayed those same videos, something stood out that Duke never even noticed. If you watch carefully, Boosie leans back and sends a quick signal across the table to his nephew. At that moment, the entire energy of the room shifts. His nephew locks eyes with someone, another man taps his shoulder, and the room suddenly freezes. Just moments before, Duke was laughing, tossing dice, and having a good time. In the next instant, the room became stiff, cold, and filled with tension.
That's where the incident took place when somebody, tried to get him or whatever. But Vlad, bro, if anybody know me, bro, that ain't my stilo, bro. You know what I'm saying? That ain't how I get down, bro. Like, that ain't how none of my people get down. And that's just the bottom line. That's shit that we wouldn't do. And, we was up about it because obviously they were watching us. Obviously they were waiting for anybody to walk across that parking lot to them cars and getting them cars. So, it could have been one of us, man. You know what I'm saying? But it's just that happened to that dude. It just internet.
Minutes later, Duke left the game, walking back to his car. He had no bodyguards, no crew, and no security. Just him and a duffel bag stuffed with millions in cash and jewels. A man with that much valuable property strolling through a dark Houston parking lot was a setup waiting to happen. One moment, Duke was celebrating his winning streak. The next, gunfire cracked the night. Here's where things don't make sense. Why would Boosie, who was aware of the risks, invite someone from out of town carrying a huge amount of wealth without providing any protection? Furthermore, why didn't Jay Prince Jr., the host of the dice game, ensure his guests were safe when they left the premises? These weren't minor details, they were major red flags. Then came the discovery that transformed suspicion into a full-blown conspiracy. Police arrived at the scene after hearing that Duke had been ambushed by robbers. However, when they found him, he was lying in his own blood with his chain still around his neck. Think about that. What robber shoots a man and leaves the most obvious and expensive jewelry untouched? The very same chains Duke proudly wore at Boosie's concert earlier that night were still there. But wait, it gets even stranger. The real twist was the missing duffel bag, the same one packed with Duke's unreleased, top-tier jewelry designs. At first, it vanished. However, when the Houston Police Department investigated further, the bag miraculously turned up inside Boosie's house. Nobody knows if Duke willingly handed it over during the game for safekeeping, or if Boosie acquired it after the tragedy. However, what is undeniable is that the bag, with all its contents, was later found in Boosie's possession.
Hey, the internet, y'all got us all the way up. We met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was gambling. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to rob him and killed the dude. What the hell my 19-year-old cousin gonna try to rob and kill somebody? Bro, we getting money, man. We getting money. That ain't our stilo. As a boss, I ain't letting that go down like that, man. This dude finna make me a piece. So y'all need to kill that. That's bad low, man. Don't put us in nothing with no bad low. It's bad low, man. This shit bad low, man. Straight up, this shit bad low. Kill it.
The bag survived. Duke did not. Afterward, Boosie tried to control the narrative. He went live, pushing the story that Duke's death was a simple robbery, but his version of events was full of contradictions. He claimed he barely knew Duke and that Duke had simply left after the game. However, the streets weren't buying it, as the details didn't add up, and his words sounded more like a cover-up than the truth. The contradictions. If that was the story, why did Boosie invite Duke to a private dice game with his own close associates? It's likely Duke wouldn't have even come if Boosie hadn't promised him a custom piece. Essentially, Boosie had Duke flashing millions in jewelry with no security, then tried to act like he hardly knew him. Something wasn't adding up, and people were taking notice. Let's be real, Boosie didn't look calm when he told his version of events. He looked pale and jittery, like someone who had just seen a ghost. That's not the reaction of a man with nothing to hide. At that point, no one believed a word he said. The more he spoke, the more it felt like a desperate attempt to erase his connection to the incident. Then the internet did what it does best. Clips and interviews spread like wildfire. One viral comment said it all. Boosie seemed to know everything Duke did before and after that night, almost like he was watching him. This comment blew up because it echoed what everyone was already thinking. Something shady was going on. The investigation. The situation became so intense that the Hasawati feds stepped in. Boosie was already on their radar for unrelated gun charges, but Duke's case opened a fresh investigation. As they dug, one suspicious fact after another kept surfacing. They started by tracking Duke's phone. The last location it pinged was at Boosie's studio. Unless Duke's phone grew legs and walked there on its own, someone in Boosie's inner circle had to have taken it. This wasn't a sloppy act, it was bold. The kind of move someone makes when they believe they have outsmarted the system. It got even darker. A forensic sweep of Duke's rental car turned up, fingerprints from Boosie's cousin and nephew. Suddenly, the signal Boosie passed during the dice game wasn't just a casual gesture. It looked like the exact moment Duke's fate was sealed. He was already a marked man. He just didn't know it yet. If that wasn't enough, a witness finally came forward, and even the feds couldn't ignore it. The witness claimed to have been smoking outside when they saw Duke walking toward his car. At first, everything seemed normal, but then Boosie's nephew appeared, as if he had been lying in wait. Duke must have realized something was wrong because he allegedly swung first. However, it didn't matter. Within seconds, shots rang out, and Duke was on the ground, lifeless. According to the witness, there was no robbery in progress and no attempt to stage one. This wasn't about stealing cash or chains. It was always about the plan. Duke never had a chance. It was never about the money. It was about silencing Duke and making him pay for beating a rigged game against all odds. The aftermath. The feds aren't just taking notes. They are on a full-on surveillance mission, digging into every corner of Boosie's life, including his businesses, messages, and even his son. This isn't a simple investigation. It's a full-blown operation. They know Boosie is going to slip, and when he does, they'll be there to catch him. If you thought that was bad, check out how the streets are treating him. The last time Boosie showed his face at home, he was jumped by a group of men who were tired of seeing their neighborhood turned into a death trap. Now, he can't even step outside without heavy security, constantly looking over his shoulder, fearing he might get dropped at any second. And don't feel too bad for him. He built this monster himself. Boosie and J. Prince Jr. created and fed a check-in culture where any rapper or notable figure in hip-hop has to immediately pay their dues. If you land in Houston, J. Prince makes you shell out a huge amount of money for protection or risk being ambushed, robbed, or worse. Is that even protection if the alternative is getting gunned down? Then there are the dice games. Dangerous, high stakes, and almost always ending in gunfire. Just 2 weeks after Duke's death, Takeoff was tragically shot at another one of these games. He didn't even make it to the parking lot as the man went down right at the table. A coincidence? The streets don't think so. Public and professional fallout. All this violence is being traced back to Boosie, which isn't just messing with his reputation, it's killing his income. Brands are scared, business deals are on hold, and the mob ties crew he once counted on has left him to fend for himself. When he tried to speak, all he offered were flimsy excuses. Then came the DJ Vlad interview everyone was waiting for. Fans were glued to their screens expecting Boosie to finally clear the air. Instead, he dodged every question, hid behind his shades, and flat out denied knowing much about Duke, but fans read him like a book. His tone and body language made it clear he was lying. The clip exploded online, and the comment section lit up with people saying Boosie wore sunglasses to avoid looking Vlad in the eye while he lied. They said he was definitely involved. Boosie can spin whatever story he wants, but he knows the streets and the public aren't buying it. Public opinion has flipped, and no one is on his side anymore. The streets are turning, the feds are closing in, and Boosie is sitting there quietly, shades on, knowing the walls are already closing in on him.